Alright guys, so we are just going to quickly introduce our next panel. Too flawed to HODL, right? As it says on the tin, this is going to be about the Hodlnaut collapse and also where we discuss the minor points of the impact that followed after. Right, as you guys know, like a lot of retail investors have lost money. So we have a group of people here on the panel that will discuss some of the points. Okay? So just a very quick run of the introductions. We have Mike Chia, who's a lawyer, representing some of them. We have Anson, who's the ex-Hodlnaut investor. Tim Han, he's been in the crypto space for a long time, runs a PR agency called Trestle Works. Right, and we have Ray Ming, who is one half of financial blogger, The World Salary Man.
Maybe we start off maybe with like an introduction of ourselves. My name is Ray Ming. I run a personal finance blog called The World Salary Man. Okay, so it's embarrassing, but maybe let's start with Mike. Mike, tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm a lawyer, as you can tell, but basically I differentiate myself by focusing on the crypto and fintech space since around 2017. Well, it started out advising offerings of digital tokens. Of course, that definition and a lot more features came about. I thought things got really interesting in the DeFi, NFT space, the metaverse. Soon enough, I think it will get interesting. But yeah, so I'm only qualified to comment on things that happens in Singapore. So Singapore law matters. Happy to be here. Thanks to Lucy and Arthur. Good job.
Hey, I'm Anson. I used to be a hall ambassador. I feel like the most out of place here because I do not work in with any crypto-related industry right now. Just a HR consultant. But I know quite a bit about Hodlnaut since I joined them back in the late 2020s. Yeah, so I can only really talk about them.
Hi everyone, my name is Tim. I run a communications consultancy based out of Singapore, focusing on helping Web3 startups communicate with the audiences. My crypto journey started in 2014 when I bought Ethereum ICO. And never looked back since, and I've been very deeply involved in the space till today.
Maybe we just go straight to the thing, okay? I mean, like, don't really like to talk about a lot of stuff. So, Tim, how did you hear about Hodlnaut, and what made you trust it?
Wow. Okay, so I met the Hodlnaut founders Simon and JT in must have been end 2018. So my friend had just written a book about blockchain. I met them at an event. And they were telling me about their product, and I thought it was very interesting. Two young guys, not long out of university, starting something that was, to me, very interesting, right? I think what cryptocurrency and decentralized finance, in a sense, have helped many people achieve is a sort of ability to invest or put money into protocols and earn some sort of yield, something that you could never get in traditional finance. And that's very empowering for regular people like us, right? And the first time I deposited with Hodlnaut must have been December 2018 or January 2019. It was an email that Simon, the CTO, sent me with a wallet address, and I just sent some funds there, right? Yeah. So really cowboy, and not even sure why I did it, but I think for me it was really about supporting upcoming ventures in the space, especially through young Singaporean founders.
Yeah, I mean, somehow it was like a local company, and you heard it was like MAS, some sort of MAS licensing.
Oh, back then, no. Back then, they didn't have a mobile app, they had a landing page, and if you wanted to deposit, you had to contact them.
Okay. How about you, Anson?
So I onboarded with X first, SwissX, back then, and I was just looking at all the supported platforms they have, tokenized, Square Exchange, and then I saw one with a very interesting name, Hodlnaut, and so I was curious, and so I googled it, and I found out that it's a lending platform similar to Celsius and whatnot, and I figured, hey, I was already deposited in Celsius, so why not put some funds into a local one. And then at that time I thought, even if it's a rug pull, since it's based locally, I can just, contact the police force and all. Yeah. But
So during May, right, when Terra collapsed, did you have any idea that, I mean, obviously you did not have any idea that this would happen, but do you have any sense that, do you have any fear that this might occur?
I definitely knew that they have to have taken on some losses from Terra Luna, but because they emphasize that they have this equity fund, so it's similar to Binance Seifu Fund, where a portion of their profits and investor funds, both from their own personal investors and customer funds, are stored in this equity fund, and that any losses will be paid through that, if any. And that's what they use to reassure the customers that there are no losses. But it's not true idea.
So I mean, in between Terra's collapse, I think on June 27th there was like a report. And I'm sorry, this sounds like derivation. I don't mean it. Okay, on June 27th there was an article coming out that kind of said like Hodlnaut had a lot of exposure to Terra. How do you feel back then?
I felt okay in the sense that I already put out most of my crypto assets, only kept my stablecoins in there. It's only with that report that I then withdrew my stablecoins. And a good portion of the community did that as well, with the intention of depositing the money back in Hodlnaut sometime in the future once the wind settled.
Got it. Okay, so Mike, this question is directed to you. What would you kind of like describe like the state of affairs at Hodlnaut right now? I mean, legally, because I understand like they have kind of come under protection. Maybe you can elaborate more on what that means.
I can neither confirm. No. So what I do understand is my firm represents the non-parties in the case against a company called Hodlnaut. I'm not aware of the current affairs or the status of the JM hearings, but basically, to put simply, judicial management, which applies to any kind of enterprise in Singapore, simply means that you are restructuring your debt. So what I understand from the situation as a check and balance activity, appointed Ernst & Young as a law firm that you can contact to file your creditor's affidavit should you happen to be a creditor. That's as far as I can tell.
Okay, and I mean, based on your profession as a lawyer, like what would you say are like the main barriers for let's say Hodlnaut investors in getting their deposits back?
Well, maybe to rephrase the question, legally speaking, I think when we deposit digital assets with any platform, not just confined to Hodlnaut, just switch, for example, Binance, for example, or another platform. What are the chances of you getting back your digital assets as and when you want to do so? I think it is quite clear that with cases like Celsius, PAC, and Hodlnaut, we know that enterprise risk is quite high. So the chances, if you have a centralized entity that is going under, then it will come down to the terms and conditions in which you are bound to as a user to the platform, right, or the company. And then there may be complications such as different jurisdictions and regulations in play if there are offshore entities, right? Someone earlier I met may have mentioned an offshore platform like Centric FX, which is not a crypto platform, but similarly, should you have deposits held with an offshore platform, what is your recourse should you want to take it up? So it is complicated. It doesn't just require professionals like myself or my firm. It does require a team, assembly of a team of professionals who are knowledgeable enough to look at the terms and conditions. And then what were the agreed, apparently agreed terms and conditions when you click, I agree and I understand. Yeah, so I don't think it's very straightforward when you want to withdraw.
Understood. And so when they halted withdrawals, right? Yeah, few years, sorry. I'm sorry, it sounds like derogation. Okay, so based on those terms and conditions, do you think like how legal is the halting of withdrawals?
Well, okay, so when you have a potential dispute or claim, it leaves it to an authority and an adjudicator to decide. And I think where you have terms and conditions, that gives them the first instance semblance of what was agreed and what was the intention between the parties at the time that you deposited. So whatever they decided to put it up there, and I think they were probably well advised, but I felt a lot of comparisons before our panel today that doesn't it work like a bank? Like, wouldn't it be just as simple as putting it in safe custody and then I can withdraw it at any time? But I completely disagree. It's completely different from what a bank is, because I think the banking regulations between consumer and the bank and financial institutions have evolved over a long time. At least in crypto years, it has evolved in a very long time. So when you apply those processes like fee drag and your financial industry disputes resolutions, and even those claims are not so straightforward. It takes a lot of time to process. And then we, being in crypto generation, feel that it should be as safu or as simple as click and withdraw. So that's where I think there's a disparity and mismatch of expectations.
Okay, I swear this is the last question. Okay. So I think last year, Hodlnaut came out and said they were pursuing some MAS licenses, right? And I think that gave many retail investors like the confidence of actually investing with Hodlnaut. So maybe in hindsight, do you think that what do you think is the problem with kind of investing in something just because MAS is kind of like giving it a license?
Okay, so I would say that it gives some reassurance, because there is a difference between something that is registered, something that is exempted, something that is non-licensed, and something that is approved and authorized and held out and given a license by MAS. So I would say Singapore will always have a long-term plan to be highly regarded or well known as a regulated jurisdiction. So when it bears a license, I think if you ask anybody who's legally trained or familiar with MAS, they tell you that this is a huge deal. They would have gone through pages and pages of declarations by the company, including your colleagues. They would have gone through their CVs before even considering and accepting their application, and then after a few months giving them IPA, as you mentioned, in principle approval and after license. So it does inspire some form of confidence when you say that we are MAS licensed. And I think personally for me, I think we were cheerleading for quite a few Singapore enterprises to manage to get a license ahead of foreign counterparts. No offense to foreign counterparts, of course we all know foreign players have very, very good products and platforms. But it was new to us to see startups, especially fintech startups, get some form of accreditation or some form of license from regulators, especially in this space. So I would say it did bolster the confidence, but I think at the time where it failed the enterprise risk factor, where you realize that overnight a licensed entity can just go under. It happens elsewhere as well, both in Australia and so on. But it does break the confidence and also hurts the reputation of the financial industry.
Okay, so this question is for Tim. Speaking of confidence, like how confident are you investing in crypto right now? I mean, not just crypto in general, but maybe you go through whether through central exchange or to centralized entities.
I think generally the situation we are in now is a consequence of companies like 2AC, Flawed, Celsius, Babel Finance, Hodlnaut, right? Just making misrepresentations, whether it's to their investors, their users, sometimes the regulator. And I think generally as an industry, we need better standards around audits, risk management, due diligence, and some of the best practices that we see in the traditional finance industry, right? That arguably have done very well in managing things like I'll term something like what Hodlnaut or Celsius offers now is this new kind of fixed income product. right? And you know, if it acts and barks like a dog, then it is a dog, right? And just industry standards are really, really important to give users, investors, especially now that the retail are coming in, the confidence that, you know, I'm buying a product and it's going to do what it says, and you know, there's some sort of due diligence or regulated infrastructure that is giving me the confidence to put some money there. And if you ask me, I think Binance, for example, right, really making strides towards becoming a regulated financial institution, and that's very encouraging. Back in 2017, right, Binance was, or maybe mid 2017, people used to say that Binance is the exchange that coins go to die, because no one was using it, right? But that quick uptake going into 2018, and then they finally realized, hey, shit, man, you gotta do something about this KYC, about how we are managing customer funds, and I think they are really making strides there. So if you ask me, we as users probably have to do a little bit more research, DYOR, do your own research into the platforms that we are using, and we determine for ourselves, like, you know, whether this is something we are okay with taking the risk with.
So there are significant portions of the DeFi community who believe like all regulation is bad. It's a bit libertarian, I'd say. So do you think these sentiments will still remain after, you know, recent events?
So let's just pry these concepts of like DeFi and centralized lending apart, because it's not really the same thing. What failed in this instance was centralized entities that, you know, whether they conducted borrowing, lending, or some sort of other shady financial activity with crypto-related products. DeFi as a blockchain-based product is still working fine, right? I know, notwithstanding the kind of attacks that we have, protocol attacks, all these kind of risks, right? But I think, yeah, if you regulation is not all that. I think that's really the bottom line there.
I think Mike was like smiling a little bit, so I just want to get him to comment a little.
Well, things chat about. So you just want me to comment on the part that regulation is good. But I think there's a bit of irony. You know, we had a chat about Bitcoin and blockchain and how it perhaps almost as high as 84% people can't tell the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain. And that's even before you add in regulation. So regulation is also just as complex, and I think this is an era where a lot of regulators are forced to deal with topics that they're not comfortable to deal with. I like Tim's approach to the problem. I mean, if it does smell like something and it does act and sound like something, you should regulate it as if it is that. That is helpful. But at the same time, we have like 177 countries to go. So regulation is good, but to the extent that, you know, the speed of innovation is outpacing everyone. Regulation appears to be very inadequate to deal with the problem. So self-regulation or startups should continue to solve the problem, because I think this is unique. Why entrepreneurs and founders get together in places like this is because they feel that they are better at solving problems than others at a faster way. So I would say regulation to some extent helps, but I have a hunch that it would not be, you know, a panacea or a silver bullet to end all of those problems.
So would you say like it's possible, and this to all of you, would it be possible, let's say in like 10 years we will kind of like think about the time, you know, 10 years ago we all invested in this thing called crypto, but we don't use it anymore, because actually now blockchain is the thing that we use, and cryptocurrency was just the element of it that did not come to fruition. Do you think that's possible?
I can start first. It feels like 10 years ago when I invested in Terra. So looking back, wow, those were very different times. Like, it's something missing from my life right now without M2 protocol. I just did an update to my Terra station. But looking back, I think some of us who grow along with the industry will be able to relate to the dots connecting backwards. I'll give you an example. I have many friends who are truly Bitcoin OGs, but they have not caught on the DeFi, lending, or any of these other platforms. They've stayed there where they are. And they just deal with that asset or that part of their life that they no longer feel that there's any need to trade as if they were back in 2016, 2017.
So they're like treating like digital gold and kind of the store of value, right?
And they are entitled to that kind of thinking. And then of course we have a new wave of people coming in who, like my friend Ferris who started in September 2021. So it could feel like a long journey for a very fast-paced industry. But yeah, I mean, I think through the course of my work, I see people who really feel like they have been in the industry for decades and they don't have to do anything about lending or demise. So I think through their eyes, I think sometimes I feel, yes, 10 years down the road, they will feel interesting, but they feel that there's no need to keep up with the times anyway.
Personally, I don't think so, because I mean there will be people like not true only shades, but like the Bitcoin maxis, for example. Certainly they will stay, and if anything, even if crypto doesn't keep mass adoption, there will certainly be a community of die-hard hodlers. People like Seferin Amus or like Hokiano or Mikey Saylor. But I also feel like 10 years from now, you're certainly different than it is now, because like what crypto is now looks different 10 years ago. But there's just too much money and institutional attention on it that I don't think it will fade away. I mean, it won't just disappear overnight. Even if it fades, it will be a slow death, I would say. Because like for example, Fidelity is opening up retail trading in October, if I'm not wrong. And their pension funds which is so open to Bitcoin, like 35% max. Right? Yeah, so there's certainly too much riding on it now for it to just disappear.
So you used to be a Hodlnaut ambassador, and carrying two parts, right? So it seems like you believe quite heavily in the future of cryptocurrency, right? So number one, like, what is your portfolio allocation? And number two, like, do you feel like guilt for being a Hodlnaut ambassador?
Alright, allocation first. I simplified it heavily recently. It used to be quite altcoin heavy, but nowadays I only hold maybe 2 altcoins. So I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, one meme coin just for fun, Samoyed coin, and a play to earn game token called Deal from Player 2. Yeah, but that's about it. I also have a substantial amount of stable coins in DeFi protocols. As for your second question, yes, I feel guilty, obviously, because I have onboarded quite a bit of high net worth individuals and a financial blogger. And so back then, the way the referrals work is that you get 10% of their interest earning every week. So let's say they are making $1,000 or like $100 a week. I'll be getting $10 every week from that, which is a pretty good deal. And so at the peak, I was making like maybe 1.5K a month just from referrals alone. And now, I have like touched bases with some of them. So for example, the financial blogger that I onboarded, Kevin, he has withdrawn most of his assets because he was also pretty on top of the crypto space. But there were quite a few high-net individuals that I onboarded who are pretty much completely ignorant of the crypto industry. Like the way they do it is they just buy MakerDAO's DAI from CoinFLEX and just send it straight to Hodlnaut and that's it. And just leave it there. And so I told them to, I just like gave them the warning signs, after Celsius collapse that maybe they should withdraw most or like some of the funds. But most of them, to them, I guess it's not saying it's chunky for them, but they just didn't see the point of withdrawing now. And yeah. And so now I'm just keeping them up to date with the judicial hearings and all.
Okay, so if you went back to last year, right? I mean, would you have advised them any differently when they put money into Hodlnaut? Would you like inform them of like more risks and stuff?
Not really. I just told them the risk of, it's not insured, it's highly volatile, it's a crypto platform. And I think last year, there was a crypto lending protocol, the centralized crypto lending platform that also went down. I think it was Cred or one of those, it's like a European one. So I told them that it is possible for it to go down, and if it does, you may very well likely not to see your funds back, and even if you do, it's probably like 20%, like 20 cents to the dollar. But you're okay with it, and yeah.
Okay, so in the light of like recent crashes in crypto, right, I think a lot of retail investors have kind of asked for governments to get their money back, asked for other entities to get their money back. Do you think that too little responsibility is being taken by retail investors?
Yes, certainly. I mean, just this morning, because I'm still in the Hodlnaut group chat, and I'm still chatting with them. A lot of them, like since yesterday, you're talking about, what if Temasek bill Hodlnaut, because they're a local company. And so I just gave them a counterpoint. They didn't build up HyFlux. They left them to drown, no pun intended. And despite the literal protests at Hong Kong Park, Temasek did nothing about HyFlux. They certainly will not do anything about Hodlnaut, which is a smaller, unregulated crypto platform. But there was a lot of opium there.
I think you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think the whole idea behind decentralization or the space, right, is that you take responsibility for your own funds. And in this case, I think I heard some of the guys at Blockhead telling me they know of some users who 2 weeks after the withdrawal was halted still didn't know what the world was going on, which to me is just mind-boggling, right? So how I got out, the first sign for me, even for Terra, right, was the formation of the Luna Foundation Guard, trying to shore up the reserves in case of a crisis. And there was a bit of a liquidity crunch, so there were not enough borrowers, and they were finding hard to sustain a 20% return. And through must have been like March and April, it was buying up a lot of Bitcoin, revacs and all that, right? And to me, that's a big red flag. So got out, right? And with Hodlnaut, I think I got out because there was a lot of contagion risk. I was in Celsius also, and I understood that they had a large part of their treasury in Terra Luna. There are also rumors that they were going with Jump Crypto, Three Arrows, and I think it's Alameda, to bail out Luna. And to me, that's very obvious, right? Why would you bail out unless you've got something to lose? You've got to keep the game going, right? Make sure the music doesn't stop. So that's when I got out also. So I think the writing was always on the wall. Whether or not you choose to keep the writing on the wall is really up to us. The selective attention is quite astounding sometimes, right? Because I want to hear what I know, or what I want to hear, what is favorable for me. And I will disregard a lot of stuff, like red flags sometimes. Right? I think it boils down to a lot of greed. And yes, I think we should take responsibility for that. And you can't always just sign over some rights in the terms and conditions and then expect somebody else to your shit, right?
Okay, I think they signal me to end the thing. Is it ending? Wrap it up, yeah, correct. So maybe we just ask is there any piece of advice you give for people who are currently have their funds in Hodlnaut? Just all three of you.
I think if at the point where withdrawals were halted, you still had funds inside, you were either asking for it or you were just grossly misinformed. So I mean, the advice I would give is to take this as a lesson.
It's a bit hypocritical for me to say now, but I would say that the ethos of cryptocurrency has always been about self-custody, about being your own bank. So if you make a mistake, that's on you. And so, and losing money at Hodlnaut is still different. It's your own responsibility. Yes, you can certainly blame them for losing the money on you. Oh, interestingly, they also lost quite a bit of money in Celsius. Hodlnaut has funds in Celsius as an institutional client. So but self-custody is very important in crypto. I bet the Bitcoin maxis are laughing at all these contagions right now, but that's just what I can.
Mike?
No advice from me, but I would suggest that, at this event, you should just contact, Tim and Send for if you have invested in it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you everyone.